Good morning. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning and we're back once again with a fresh edition of Breakfast News. I'm Preeti, with me is Rukman. In the next 1 hour, we'll get to everything that has been making it to the headlines. When we talk of 16 December, then today marks the day when we had witnessed the stupendous victory against Pakistan in the 1971 war. And today, marking the 50th anniversary celebrations, the Prime Minister will light up the Swarnim Vijay Mishal at the National War Memorial. Rukma, when we talk of these sacrifices, when we talk of the determination, the courage, the valor of our forces, then our flag does not fly because of the wind, but it flies high because of the sacrifices, because of the courage which has been put in by each and every soldier who died fighting for it, protecting it.
Right, true. And our flag continues to fly high because of the valor and the sweat and the blood and the lives sacrificed by our brave hearts over the years. Today we kick off the celebrations commemorating the 50th anniversary of Vijay Divas, commemorating the 1971 India-Pakistan war, in which our soldiers displayed supreme courage and bravery. Also, other news items, updates on the COVID situation, updates on the farmer unrest and agitation. Very positive news on that front. Also news from sports and the web as well. But first, here are the headlines.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi to light up Swarnim Vijay Mashal today and begin the 50th anniversary celebrations of the 1971 India-Pakistan War. The Prime Minister will lay wreath and pay homage to the fallen soldiers at National War Memorial.
Prime Minister reassures farmers, says government ready for talks at any time to resolve their doubts about new farm acts, accuses opposition of spreading misinformation about reforms in the agriculture sector.
A Bharatiya Kisan Union delegation meets Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar, extends support to reforms, seeks amendments to the new Farm Act, suspends protests for time being.
Seventh phase of DDC elections and Panchayat by-polls begins in Jammu and Kashmir, voting being held in 31 constituencies, including 18 from Jammu Division and 13 from Kashmir Division. Counting of votes for three-phase local body elections in Kerala today.
India achieved several significant milestones in its fight against COVID-19. The recovery rate crosses 95%, one of the highest in the world, with high number of COVID patients recovering every day and the sustained fall in mortality rate. Health Ministry unveils plan for vaccination.
In international news, second COVID vaccine nears US approval. Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine clears first US FDA test. Germany introduces hard lockdown over Christmas holidays after a number of infections hit record levels. France replaces second national lockdown with a night curfew.
And in sports, Indian women wrestler Anshu storms into final in 57 kg category in 2020 Individual World Cup being held in Belgrade. Anshu will face Macedonian wrestler Anastasia Nichita in gold bout today. Alright, those were the headlines we're tracking this hour. Up next, we'll get you details of the national headlines first.
And as we were telling you, commemoration of the 1971 India-Pakistan war, which we have named Vijay Divas, begin from today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will light up the Swarnim Vijay Mashal, marking the beginning of the 50th anniversary celebrations of the Indo-Pak War. The Prime Minister will lay a wreath at the National War Memorial. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh, Chief of Defence Staff and Tri-Service Chiefs will also pay homage to the fallen soldiers. PM Modi will light up the Swarnim Vijay Mashal from the eternal flame of the National War Memorial on the occasion. 4 victory mashals will be lit up on the occasion. These mashals will be carried to various parts of the country, including to villages of Paramveer Chakra and Mahavir Chakra awardees of the 1971 war. Soil from the villages of these awardees and from areas where major battles were fought in 1971 are being brought to the National War Memorial. In December 1971, the Indian Armed Forces secured a decisive and historic victory over the Pakistan Army, which led to creation of a nation, Bangladesh, and also resulted in the largest military surrender after the World War II. The nation is celebrating 50 years of the Indo-Pak War, also called Swarnim Vijay Varsh, from today. Various commemorative events are being planned across the country. And joining us now is our correspondent Arun Sharma on the phone line. Arun, we are beginning celebrations commemorating the Indo-Pak War of 1971. Give us a sense of the programs that have been laid out. We believe programs from all across are being planned all across the country.
Good morning, Rukma. Good morning, Preeti. Indeed, it's a historic day for India. It's a historic day for our defense forces. We know this fact that today, in December 1971, the armed forces secured a decisive and historic victory over Pakistani army. Now, that also resulted, as you also mentioned, in the largest military surrender after the World War II. Now, today, primarily, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will light up the Swarnim Vijay Mashal. Now, this will begin the 50th anniversary celebration of the Indo-Pak War. Now, Rukma, there are various commemorative events that are planned all across the country. Now, we also know this fact that there are 4 mashals primarily, or 4 flames that will be lit from the eternal flame of the war memorial, that's the National War Memorial. And now these mashals will be carried out to various parts of the country. And the idea is that, the young generation of today do know about that what happened in 1971. The martyr soldiers, what they have actually contributed, the youngsters or the next generation should know this fact, and that's the reason why these 4 mashals, will be taken to the various parts of our country, and the various commemorative events, will also be conducted, wherein the war veterans and the Veer Naris will be felicitated, and there are events like band displays, various seminars, exhibitions, the equipment, the defense equipment displays, the film festival and conclaves and adventure activities are being planned all across the country. So the basic idea is that the new India or the next generation do know that what exactly happened in 1971 and how the soldiers, led their life for securing our nation and for protecting our nations, and that's the reason why these commemorative events are taking place. And we know this fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has always been on forefront as far as showcasing he's keen that the youngsters of our country should know about the war veterans. They should know about the great personalities of our country, and in that context, these events will be very much important for our defense sector and, of course, for our nation as well. Rukma.
All right, Arun, when we talk of, you specified the programs which would be lined ahead, but when we talk specifically of the war, the victory which we had against Pakistan in 1971, it is the 50th anniversary today. How do we remember the day? How do we remember those times? How do we remember that victory against Pakistan? The war lasted, the battle lasted for just 13 days, but eventually it changed the history, isn't it?
It changed the history, and India not only gave a befitting reply to Pakistan, but also sent a message that the kind of infiltration that Pakistan even today is involved in, the kind of cross-border terrorism that Pakistan even today is involved in, every time Pakistan will get a befitting reply if in case it does indulge in these kind of activities. Now, not only on international platforms, but also on various multilateral platforms, India has been exposing Pakistan of its activities. We know this fact that in 1971, in December 1971, the Indian Armed Forces, the soldiers, the brave soldiers of our country secured a decisive victory over Pakistani army. And you know that led to a creation of two history. It changed the map as well.
Yes.
Bangladesh was also created, and that this war of 1971 also resulted in the largest military surrender after World War II. So this also sends a message that how Indian Army or the armed forces of our country will give befitting reply as and when required. We also remember Kargil war as well. At that time also a befitting reply was given to Pakistan. So yes, every time whenever Pakistan indulges in any kind of we say that any kind of infiltration, the cross-border terrorism, even today India is giving a befitting reply to Pakistan, and on various multilateral and international forum India has exposed Pakistan, and now on various multilateral platform as well Pakistan has been exposed going forward. So yes, it's a big day for a country like India. The Jawans of our country, and on the other side we should not forget this fact, Preeti, that India is also ensuring that these soldiers, the armed forces, the government is also doing a lot.
Yes.
On one side, one rank, one pension initiatives have been launched by the government, and the benefit of it being reaching to the soldiers of our country. So on the other side, we should not forget this fact that this National War Memorial is a true tribute, for our defense forces of our country. On the other side, the various pension scheme that's being launched by the government. Now today, government is also ensuring that the modern equipment, modern defense equipments are also being procured by the defense forces. The defense corridor, is being established in Uttar Pradesh. So the idea is that how we become Atmanirbhar in the defense sector as well, so that the ultimate benefits or the modern benefits do reach to the soldiers and armed forces of our country, so that we can give a befitting reply as and when required. So yes, government is also ensuring that the modern equipments, the modern defense infrastructure can be created. The state-of-the-art technologies can be included in our armed forces as well. And on the other side, the socialistic measures like, when we talk about one rank, one pension, these kind of benefits also do reach to the armed forces of our country. So all in all, today is a historic day when today Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he will be lighting up the Swarnim Vijay Mashal, and the beginning of 50th anniversary celebration of Indo-Pak war will also begin. But the basic idea, Preeti, we should not forget this fact, that the next generation of our country, the youngsters of our country, each and every person should know that what was the valor, how bravely the soldiers of the war of 1971 was fought, and how the Indian Armed Forces gave a befitting reply to Pakistani army. So all this would also be laid emphasis upon when the commemorative events will take place all across the country.
All right, Arun, we'll end this conversation here. Thank you so much for joining us with those inputs. We'll come back to you again during the day. So that was our correspondent Arun Sharma joining us and telling us about various programs that are lined ahead all across the country to mark the 50th anniversary celebrations of India's victory against Pakistan in 1971. We'll keep you updated. Let's move further in the bulletin.
Right.
And extended greetings on Vijay Diwas. Union Home Minister Amit Shah said, this day in 1971, the Indian Army, with its indomitable courage and valor, made a historic change on the world map, protecting the universal values of human freedom. This history, written with golden letters, will continue to make every Indian proud.
And Prime Minister Modi on Tuesday reassured farmers who have been protesting against the new Farm Acts. He reiterated that his government was committed to farmers' welfare. Here's more in this report.
बार बार दोहराता हूं कि उनकी हर शंका के समाधान के लिए सरकार 24 घंटे तैयार है। किसानों का हित पहले दिन से हमारी सरकार की सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकताओं में से एक रहा है।
PM on Tuesday reassured the farmer community that the government is committed to farmers' welfare and will keep addressing their concerns. PM said that the welfare of farmers is the top priority of the centre. He said that the political parties now criticizing the farm reform laws are the ones who used to support the provisions when they were in power.
आज जो लोग विपक्ष में बैठकर किसानों को भ्रमित कर रहे हैं, वो भी अपनी सरकार के समय इन कृषि सुधारों के समर्थन में थे, लेकिन अपनी सरकार के रहते वो निर्णय नहीं ले पाए, किसानों को झूठे दिलासे देते रहे। आज जब देश ने यह ऐतिहासिक कदम उठा लिया तो यही लोग किसानों को भ्रमित करने में जुट गए हैं।
PM reaffirmed that the centre is working with honest policies and intent towards farmer welfare, adding that the government is working to increase the options spread for the farmers to increase their income.
सरकार के ईमानदार प्रयास और जिसको करीब करीब पूरे देश ने आशीर्वाद दिए हैं, देश के हर कोने के किसानों ने आशीर्वाद दिए हैं, मुझे विश्वास है कि किसानों के आशीर्वाद की ये ताकत, देश भर के किसानों के आशीर्वाद की ताकत, जो भ्रम फैलाने वाले लोग हैं, जो राजनीति करने पर तुले हुए लोग हैं, जो किसानों के कंधे पर बंदूकें फोड़ रहे हैं, देश के सारे जागरूक किसान उनको भी परास्त करके रहेंगे।
Meanwhile, farmers are staying put at the border areas of the capital. On another front, members of Bharatiya Kisan Union met Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar at Krishi Bhavan. They extended their support for the new farm reforms but also sought some amendments. BKU has announced that they will give the government time to make the changes sought and will suspend the protest for the time being.
कई जगह किसान कुछ भ्रम फैला रहे हैं और इसलिए इन लोगों के मन में भी भ्रम था। जब मैंने विषय को रखा तो उन्होंने कहा कि हम पूरी तरह बिलों का समर्थन यहाँ भी करते हैं और अब जिला स्थान तक जाएंगे और बिलों के बारे में किसानों को बताएंगे, किसी को गुमराह होने की जरूरत नहीं।
जब हमें बुलाया सुनने के लिए, हमने बातें रखी अपनी, तो मंत्री जी का एकदम बहुत बढ़िया निर्णय रहा कि हम इन पर विचार करेंगे और आपकी बातों को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। सब जगह हम अपने जितने भी जिलों में हमारा आंदोलन चल रहा था, उत्तर प्रदेश के जिलों में, उत्तराखंड में, तो उन जगह अभी हम रोकेंगे।
Meanwhile, many union ministers have targeted the opposition parties and accused them to protest the laws without any reason.
कई प्रकार से किसानों से वार्ता हुई है, लेकिन किसान के हित में जो बातें हैं उसको ओझल करने का काम कम्युनिस्ट और कांग्रेस के नेता लोग करने का काम कर रहे हैं और आप देख रहे हैं, इसलिए किसानों के हित में उठाया गया कदम है।
नियत और पूरी तरह से इनकी जो है वो नियत में खो है और ये चाहते ही नहीं कि किसानों का कोई मुद्दा उसका समाधान हो, क्योंकि किसानों के जो न सशक्तिकरण के साथी हैं ये और न सफलता के साथी हैं।
जब इनके ऊपर बहस करने का समय था पार्लियामेंट के अंदर, तब तो श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी जी भी और राहुल गांधी जी भी वो अमेरिका चले गए, लेकिन जैसे ही कानून पास हुए अगले दिन आ गए और पंजाब में जाके राहुल जी ट्रैक्टर के ऊपर बैठ गए, किसानों को भड़काना शुरू किया।
While farmer unions from Punjab, Haryana and some parts of UP are protesting the new farm reform laws, many farmer representatives from many parts of the nation have come forward to support the reforms initiated by the centre. On Tuesday, PM himself led from the front and centre has extended a hand towards the farmers. With Rishi Kumar and Shishir Shelar, DD India.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday inaugurated developmental projects in Gujarat's Kutch. He laid the foundation stone of a 30,000 megawatt hybrid renewable energy park, seawater desalination plant and modern milk processing plant. We'll get to more in this report.
Kutch on the path of rapid and sustainable development, fueled by Prime Minister Modi's vision for the region. known for its mesmerizing beauty as a white desert, is cursed with water scarcity. It also bears the scars of the devastating earthquake in 2000. Prime Minister Modi has played a pivotal role in its journey from then to now. Prime Minister Modi added another milestone in this journey, laying the foundation stone of several development projects. The projects include a desalination plant, a hybrid renewable energy park, and a fully automated milk processing and packaging plant. The PM stressed that Kutch has shown the country how a region can progress towards self-reliance with optimum utilization of its resources.
तीनों ही कच्छ की विकास यात्रा में नए आयाम लिखने वाले हैं और इसका बहुत बड़ा लाभ यहां के मेरे किसान भाइयों बहनों को, पशुपालक भाइयों बहनों को, यहां के सामान्य नागरिकों को और विशेषकर हमारी माताओं बहनों को होने वाला है।
Spread over 72,600 hectares of land, the hybrid renewable energy park will have a dedicated hybrid park zone for wind and solar energy storage as well as exclusive zone for wind park activities. The park will play a crucial role in fulfilling Prime Minister Modi's vision to generate 450 gigawatts of renewable power capacity by 2030. Prime Minister said that hybrid plant will open doors for employment as well as prevent emissions of 5 crore tons of CO2.
इस रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी पार्क में करीब 1.5 लाख करोड़ रुपए का निवेश होगा। सोचिए, रेगिस्तान की कितनी बड़ी भूमि का सदुपयोग होगा। सीमा के साथ पवन चक्कियां लगने से सीमा सुरक्षित भी और अधिक बेहतर होगी।
The Kutch region faced several challenges to fulfill its need for fresh water availability. Gujarat took significant steps under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who took several initiatives to strengthen fresh water availability in the state over years. The PM also underlined that the plant will benefit over 8 lakh people in the Kutch region.
पानी को लेकर भी गुजरात ने जो काम किया है वो आज देश के लिए दिशा दर्शक बना है। पानी सफाई का ये प्लांट जब तैयार हो जाएगा तो इससे रोज 10 करोड़ लीटर साफ पानी की सप्लाई हो सकेगी। एक और लाभ ये होगा कि सैकड़ों किलोमीटर दूर से यहां आ रहा नर्मदा का पानी, उसका भी हम ज्यादा अच्छा सदुपयोग कर पाएंगे।
The fully automated milk processing and packaging plant at Sarhad Dairy, Anjar, Kutch will cost 121 crore rupees and will have the capacity to process 2 lakh liters of milk per day.
इस डेयरी ने कच्छ के पशुपालकों का जीवन बदलने में बड़ी भूमिका निभाई है। कुछ साल पहले तक कच्छ से, और वो भी बहुत कम मात्रा में, दूध को प्रोसेसिंग के लिए गांधीनगर की डेयरी में लाया जाता था, लेकिन अब वही प्रोसेसिंग अंजार के डेयरी प्लांट में हो रही है।
The PM also recalled the work done for the development and reconstruction of Kutch during his tenure as Gujarat Chief Minister and appreciated the people for their work towards development of the state. With inputs from Shishi Shelar, DD India.
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, polling is underway for the 7th phase of the District Development Council polls. In the second phase, polling is being held in 31 DDC constituencies, including 18 from Jammu Division and 13 from Kashmir Division. Polling for Sarpanch and Panch by polls is also being held today. Adequate security measures have been made to ensure smooth and incident-free polling. Due to the biting cold in the morning, poll process is slow but will pick up as the day progresses. A total of 298 candidates are in the fray in phase 7. Of these, 226 candidates are male and 72 are female. A total of 6,87,115 electorate are eligible to exercise their franchise, for whom State Election Commission has set up 1,892 polling booths. The first 6 phases of polling held so far have seen impressive turnout of voters exercise their franchise. State Election Commissioner K.K. Sharma has appealed to people to come forward to participate in the biggest festival of democracy. Joining us now is our correspondent Ramesh Raina, who's been covering the polls since they first began from the first phase itself. Ramesh, a very good morning to you. We believe it's biting cold this morning there. In spite of that, clearly people are braving the cold to exercise their franchise and participate.
Good morning, Rukma, and good morning, Preeti. You are absolutely right. We have seen 6 phases of these elections. The first ever these district development council polls, and you see these polls are being held in the month of November and December, and this is the season when there is a severe cold in Jammu and Kashmir. And recently, a couple of days back, we had a heavy snowfall in Kashmir Valley and in the upper east of Jammu division. But despite that, what we saw that people are coming out in large numbers. Initially in the morning, since these polls are they begin at 7 a.m., so it is too early. But when the day progresses, the people come out in large numbers to exercise their votes. The reason is simple, because since these polls are being held for the first time, so people see this as an opportunity to get their basic facilities. So we have been talking to people. We have been covering all these polls since these 6 phases have been completed. During all these phases, when we talk to people that what is the significance of these elections and why are you coming out in large numbers? Because what we have seen previously, there used to be a very low turnout. But during all these 6 phases, there is impressive turnout. But when we have been talking to them, the people are simply saying that we have been voting for all our candidates like that, MLAs and MPs over the years. But the basic facilities which should be there in their rural areas, they are not still there. Now they see this is an opportunity that they will be electing their own candidates from their own areas, who will be fully aware about the problems which the people of their area is facing. So they consider it as an opportunity that to get their developmental works and their basic facilities from the government. They say that they can easily approach to their representatives and get their things resolved and get their basic facilities. Rukma.
All right, Ramesh, you also very quickly let us know, what is the significance of the 7th phase polling, and what are the factors or what are the points that mark this phase different from the previous phases which have been held?
See, Pradeep, it is the only issue for which the people are coming out in large numbers. They want development of their areas. They want the basic facilities to be fulfilled. They want roads. They want that water. They want electricity. They want playgrounds. Because when I said that I covered all these 6 phases, while talking to people, everybody was saying that, see, we want a school in our area. We want a playground in our area. We want roads. We want connectivity with the main highways. So things are same. Issue is development. And they see this is an opportunity to get all these basic facilities from the government, and that is why they are coming in large numbers. And I will tell you one thing, that so far 6 phases are over. Total elections are to be held in 280 DDC conventions. So 221 seats election has been over. So now 59 seats are left, and today is for this 31 DDC constituencies. So we are again expecting, yesterday also, that State Election Commissioner, he appealed people through media that they should come out in large numbers, and he said that we have made elaborate arrangements. And secondly, since these elections are being held in this COVID pandemic, proper arrangements have been made at all the polling booths. Sanitizers have been kept there. Masks have been kept there, and that thermal scanning is being done for the voters. So right. people are coming out. They want simple as they want that their area should get all the basic facilities.
Right, Ramesh. Well, clearly very encouraging response there to the polling. Exactly. It's the 7th phase of elections in the DDC elections in Jammu and Kashmir. People coming in huge numbers despite COVID, despite the biting cold. Thank you so much for joining us with those inputs.
And let's get you other inputs from Jammu and Kashmir. We'll turn our focus to Kerala now. In Kerala, counting of votes is being held for the recently concluded local body polls. Counting began at 8 in the morning at 244 centres across the state, abiding to COVID-19 protocols. The elections, which took place for 941 Gram Panchayats, 152 Block Panchayats, 14 District Panchayats, 87 municipalities and 6 corporations, had seen huge turnout by voters. All necessary arrangements are put in place for counting of local polls that were held in 3 phases on December 8th, 10th and 14th. Results will be available for public in Election Commission's Trend website. High polling of over 70% was recorded in all the 3 phases.
India and the United Kingdom are talking about a 10-year roadmap for a new era in ties between the two, including collaborating on an enhanced trade partnership with a possible free trade agreement in the future. It is expected to unlock economic benefits for the UK and India after Brexit becomes a reality. Remember, the United Kingdom is set to leave the European Union on the 31st of December, even as London and Brussels are struggling to clinch a post-Brexit trade deal. These and other issues were discussed when the foreign ministers of India and the UK met in New Delhi on Tuesday. Take a look at more in this report.
Visiting British Foreign Minister Dominic Raab began his 4-day visit to India with a meeting with Minister of External Affairs Subrahmanyam Jaishankar. The two held 4 hours of discussion on a wide range of issues.
You are coming through the Brexit. All of us are also struggling with the COVID. So the world's very different. I hope today in the discussions, a lot of the convergences and the touch points of our relationship, we can build on that.
The focus was on how to take the bilateral ties to a higher level. Addressing a joint news conference, Raab said British Prime Minister Boris Johnson would visit India next month.
I'm pleased that Prime Minister Johnson has invited Prime Minister Modi to join the UK-hosted G7 summit next year. And Prime Minister Johnson has also gratefully accepted the very generous invitation to attend India's Republic Day celebrations in January, which is a great honour.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson expressed his delight at his forthcoming visit to India. In a statement, he said, "I am absolutely delighted to be visiting India next year at the start of an exciting year for global Britain and look forward to delivering the quantum leap in our bilateral relationship that Prime Minister Modi and I have pledged to achieve." As a key player in the Indo-Pacific region, India is an increasingly indispensable partner for the United Kingdom as we work to boost jobs and growth, confront shared threats to our security and protect our planet. Jaishankar said Johnson accepting the Republic Day invitation was symbolic of a new era in India-UK ties. Johnson has responded by inviting Prime Minister Narendra Modi to take part in the G7 summit to be hosted by the UK next year. Raab's visit comes at a time when the UK is holding complex negotiations with the European Union on reaching a post-Brexit trade deal. In the wake of Brexit, the UK has been looking at ramping up trade with leading economies such as India.
We agreed on key elements of a 10-year UK-India roadmap so that we can deliver a step change in ambition for the relationship between our two countries. First of all, we want to deepen our economic partnership. What we want to do is take that to another level, working towards agreeing an enhanced trade partnership next year, which itself will be, we hope, a stepping stone towards a future free trade agreement. And I think that can unlock huge opportunities for British and Indian businesses, lowering barriers in areas like food and drink, healthcare and life sciences, IT, data, chemicals and financial services.
There have been apprehensions that the UK's separation from the European Union without a trade deal could severely cripple its financial markets and may have long-term implications for its economy. Jaishankar said there have been very big changes in global politics, and India and the UK believe that their interests were better served by working together more effectively.
As foreign ministers, we naturally reviewed the state of the world, the situation in Afghanistan, the evolution of the Indo-Pacific, and developments in the Middle East were among the subjects that came up. The challenges posed by terrorism and radicalism were a shared concern. As India enters the UN Security Council next month, we look forward to working together with the UK on a range of global issues.
The twin issues of climate change and clean energy were also discussed. The UK will also host a climate change summit next year. Cooperation in the post-COVID-19 world order was another topic of mutual interest. Dominic Raab also met Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar at Paryavaran Bhavan, which is a green building. The two leaders discussed scope for future collaboration between the two countries on climate change and achieving related sustainable development goals. Raab will travel to Bengaluru, where he will meet Karnataka Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa on 17th December. DD India.
The cold, which began setting in from Monday evening, has gripped several parts of northern India. With influence of a fresh western disturbance passing over the Himalayas, the IMD has predicted cold days with extreme weather for the next 2 days. As a result, temperatures are expected to further dip in Delhi NCR region. As per IMD, minimum temperature is expected to be 5 to 6 degrees and maximum will be 19 degrees for today. Delhi recorded a 7.4 degrees Celsius temperature at 5:30 am today. Also, fog continues to shroud the national capital. Meanwhile, Delhi recorded season's lowest minimum temperature at 4.1 degrees Celsius so far on Tuesday, according to the Indian Met Department. The quality of air in Delhi deteriorated to the poor category today morning as the city's overall air quality index soared to 201 as per the Ministry of Earth Sciences Air Quality Monitor, System of Air Quality and Weather Forecasting and Research. Tapas is joining us to get us more on that. Tapas, 5:30 am today morning, Delhi was extremely cold. I would want you to spell out how is the day expected to be, from here on, and also how has the Met Department predicted the coming few days?
Well, let's just say this, yesterday it was the coldest December at 4.1 degrees Celsius, that which was measured at the Safdarjung Observatory. And as per IMD, that is mainly to do with the passing of the western disturbance. Because of the western disturbance, there is when western disturbance comes to a particular place, it brings with it a relatively warmer climate. So what we saw in the first week of December was there was a in Kashmir, in general, you have a warmer climate, warmer December in comparison to last couple of years. But the last 2 days, yesterday and today, we have seen a dip in the temperature. That is mainly to do with the fact that because of the western disturbance has passed, and also the northwesterly winds from the mountain area, especially from the Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh area, which was coming, that actually led to a dip in the temperature. It is expected that it will stay like this for the next couple of days, and from then it will improve further. So till a couple of days, and from now onwards, we will have a slight modification, slight dip in the temperature. It will hover in the region of 4 to 6 degrees Celsius. But it is expected after 17th, let's say after 17th and 18th, there will be a rise in the temperature. Anyway, what we can say is that overall, if you take a close look at the December's temperature, it is actually quite warmer in terms of if you compare it with the last 2 years. Though the November month was considered the coldest in terms of its mean temperature in the last 71 years. So for Delhiites and for Delhi NCR people, next couple of days will be a little harsher, a little difficult, but expect warmer climate, warmer December after that.
Right, Tapas, what about the air quality? In Delhi in particular, we believe that there has been a deeper analysis into that. Have weather experts, have they come up with any reason why it is still in the poor category?
Well, if you take a look at Delhi's air quality, it is 201. It just touched the poor category. In fact, if I can show you particularly, this is Delhi Safar. If you take a close look at Safar, one expect that in the next couple of days, once rainfall is expected, after a while. So if that happens, one expects the weather quality to improve even further. But in generally, we have seen that Delhi in the last few years generally has a poor quality of air in the month of November, December. obviously for many reasons, not just stubble burning, but there are many reasons. Delhi also has its own fair share of vehicle pollution, dust, as well as other aspects of the pollution. But if we take a closer look at Delhi, as of now, as you said, that it is 201, this is exactly what is showing in the Suffer app, and but it generally stays like this, or it in fact deteriorate further. So in a way, one would say that the quality is still in a better position than what it was in the last couple of years. But yes, a poor category is definitely not something that a lot of people will appreciate. But because of the fog and the smog, basically it's the smog which combines. The traveling part for a lot of people gets a little difficult, but one expects that in the next few days the air quality will improve along with the cold condition that is currently prevalent in the Delhi NCR region and the northern part of the country.
Right, Tapas. Well, thank you very much for joining us there. So, Tapas telling us about how cold weather conditions continue to prevail. We'll be telling you more in detail about that in the weather report that we will be talking about in a short while from now. But now we have for you other news stories. Down south, following a brief period of mostly dry weather, a fresh spell of rainfall lashed Tamil Nadu and Kerala late night on Tuesday. Nagapattinam, Thanjavur, Thiruvarur and Tiruchi districts received moderate rainfall. According to the India Met Department, a new easterly wave is set to affect the weather over Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Karaikal, Kerala, Mahe and Lakshadweep from Wednesday to Saturday. The IMD has issued a yellow watch over the region on all 4 days. Isolated heavy falls are also expected over Puducherry and Karaikal during this period.
Up next, we take a look at updates related to COVID-19 situation across the country. When we talk of the significant milestones which have been achieved, then the fight against COVID-19 has been fruitful till now. The country has recorded lowest number of COVID-19 cases on Monday in the last 5 months. Daily new cases stand at 22,065 after 161 days. In another achievement, the active cases have drastically declined below 3.4 lakh. The total positive cases of the country are 3,39,820 and now comprise merely 3.43% of the total cases. The total recovered cases have crossed 94 lakh. The national recovery rate has further escalated to 95.12%. 34,477 patients have recovered and discharged in the last 24 hours. 74.24% of the new recovered cases are observed to be concentrated in 10 states and union territories. India's recovery rate is one of the highest in the world for countries with high caseload.
And let's now move on to Bihar. The state government has approved free vaccination of COVID-19 in the state and as and when it is available. The decision was taken at a cabinet meeting chaired by Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. The cabinet also took the decision to provide employment to 20 lakh unemployed youth in the next 5 years. For employment, the state government will provide grant of 5 lakh rupees to each unemployed youth. 50% subsidy will also be given. It may be noted that during the Bihar Assembly elections, BJP had promised to give free COVID vaccination and employment opportunities to the unemployed youth.
All right, time now to get you updates from across the world in our segment, which we call Across the World as well, wherein we get you updates talking about the progress which has been made in the vaccine development and also the restrictions which have been put forth in the European countries with regard to COVID-19 pandemic.
Many European countries going into severe lockdown. We'll be telling you all about that. Watch Across the Globe. And we begin with an update on the COVID situation from across the world. As of now, more than 7 crore 38 lakh coronavirus cases have been reported worldwide, with over 16 lakh 41,000 deaths. Over 5 crore 18 lakh people have recovered from the virus. The United States continues to remain the worst hit country by the pandemic so far, with the highest number of infections. The US has recorded over 1 crore 71 lakh cases of the virus, with a death toll surging past 3 lakh 10,000. Brazil follows the United States in terms of death toll with 1 lakh 82,000 deaths.
Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine has appeared to be set for regulatory authorization after the US Food and Drug Administration staff members did not raise any major concerns in the documents released yesterday. Regulators say that Moderna's vaccine is safe and 94% effective, clearing the way for US emergency authorization. The US Food and Drug Administration posted a preliminary analysis confirming the safety and effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine developed by Moderna in collaboration with the National Institute of Health, bringing it ever closer to an emergency use authorization. If Moderna's vaccine is approved, it will become the second shot after Pfizer to be green-lighted in America. US hospitals began administering Pfizer vaccine shots on December 14th, and the United States is counting on Moderna vaccine to fulfill its promise to inoculate 20 million people this month.
Germany will go under hard lockdown over the Christmas period after the number of infections hit record levels there. The new lockdown will remain in place till the 10th of January. Schools and non-essential shops will be closed, while restaurants and leisure centers will also be shut. However, banks and essential shops will be allowed to stay open. Certain relaxations will be given on December 24th to the 26th.
France has meanwhile replaced its second national lockdown with a night curfew ahead of the holiday season. Night restrictions will remain in place from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. People will no longer be required to get an official permission for leaving their homes during the day. Meanwhile, no restrictions will be in place on Christmas Eve.
In the United States, the Washington National Cathedral tolled its bells 300 times in memory of the 3 lakh Americans who died of COVID-19. The bells rang continuously for 30 minutes. This is the second time this year that the cathedral has marked the ever-growing death toll from COVID in the United States. In September, the cathedral tolled its bell 200 times after the states crossed a grim milestone of 200,000 deaths from the virus.
And after Across the Globe, we get to our next segment, Web Review, wherein a colleague of ours joins us with the top stories or the top headlines which have been put forth in different web portals across social media.
And joining us now is Anil Thomas, our colleague. Anil, a very good morning to you. So what's trending on the web and on social media?
Well, good morning, Preeti. Good morning, Rukma. Well, I've culled out 6 stories from the papers, over the night, stories that I assume, some stories that are not there a part of our bulletin. The first one is from the Karnataka Legislative Council, where yesterday there was a one-day special session that was convened for the Karnataka Legislative Council. But then, chaos breaking out there in the assembly, and as a result of which, there was a tussle between the deputy speaker as well as the chairman of the house, and in the end, the council has been adjourned sine die. So that's the top story that I picked. Moving forward to the next story that I picked from Hindustan Times. This is an interesting story where Google is wanting to do something. Google is wanting India's rural infrastructure or rural areas to get multi-gigabyte internet services through Project Tara. This particular project, Google has tried it in the sub-Saharan desert, and it's got success also, in various South African, various Saharan, Africa countries. So they have had a bit of success when it comes to providing internet services to the remotest of areas. Now, what Google is looking for is to do something similar in India to replicate that, and they're looking at various other agencies, 2 telecom giants that they're looking at, where they can tie up and where they can take internet to the remotest places in India. The third story is also from Hindustan Times. This is an editorial written by the Union Minister for Information and Broadcasting. He clearly talks about away from the noise, voters still continue to, repose faith in the BJP. He's citing elections after elections, especially after the pandemic broke out. He starts off first talking about the Hyderabad Municipal Corporation elections, followed by the Rajasthan rural and urban elections. The Rajasthan rural elections, which BJP won handsomely, but coming distant second in the urban elections. He's also talking about the Bodoland Territorial Council elections, where BJP won handsomely, and coming down to narrating Goa's success story, where both North and South Goa was captured by BJP. So clearly, the thin line agenda, the thin message that this particular editorial conveys is about right from tribal areas to coastal areas, from rural India to urban India. The message of development that BJP and the NDA promises is clearly, ticking all the right boxes when it comes to the people and the voters. And that's the reason why BJP, irrespective of all the noise being created, BJP has been able to make, the votes count and the voters vote in favor of them. The minister goes on to say about manufacturing agendas and vested interests being promoted by various political parties. But at the end of the day, people seeing light at the end of the tunnel and people voting handsomely for the BJP. The next story that I've picked up is from the Mint, and this talks about the markets, on how the markets have been yesterday. The markets with record highs, but then the markets then had a bit of a hit. In the end, both Nifty and Sensex closing 10 points plus. Nifty closing at 13,568, while Sensex closing at 46,263. So clearly, the movement that you see in the markets is very much positive. There is a buoyancy there that you see that is upward moving, but we'll have to be cautious. You would always advise investors to be cautious when you're hitting record highs. You need to be careful. Don't jump into the market as you see everything is going green. There is a bit of movement that you're seeing, but you need to be cautious and you need to have good, sensible reading of subject before you enter the market. This is good times when you look at how the markets are reacting when people are able to make money from the stock markets, but you need to be cautious, especially in your approach on entering the market without your basic knowledge being there. The fifth story that I have picked out is about the pink ball test that India and Australia are going to play tomorrow. That's going to take place in Adelaide. That particular story is about why a pink ball is used in a test match, in a day-night test, as compared to white or a red ball. The pink ball is generally used in a day-night test. Why is it used? Because it's easier to spot under lights. And what happens is, as compared to the red ball, if you have a pink ball, it's much easier to sight for the batsman and also for the people. It's a leather ball. It's just that the color is changed. There is a pigment of pink coated on the ball, and that's why. And the advantage of this particular pink ball is it swings a bit more, especially in that twilight, and it also swings a bit more in the opening part of the match. This particular ball is going to be very interesting. India has played one test match, a day-night test match that India has played against Bangladesh at the Eden Gardens. This time around, they are playing away, and this is going to be Virat Kohli's only test that he's going to play. So we'll have to keep our fingers crossed, especially when it comes to Virat and the team clicking this particular, starting off the test series with a win, especially in Adelaide. And it's going to be a test for the Indian batsmen as well as bowlers, especially taking Aussies in their homeland, that to win a day-night test as the beginner of their test series, a 4-match test series. A final story that I picked is an entertainment story. This is from a website called Bollywood Hungama, and it's a very interesting story about Varun Dhawan. Varun Dhawan has created a wonderful movement. He got COVID last week, and he shared a series of pictures on Instagram about himself, about his profile, where he's explaining different stages of life in isolation. And it's very interesting. The first one, where he's photoshopped and he's made himself look pretty younger. The next one, he's edited his face, where he's a face he claims that is intact. That's the present day times. And the third picture that he's put together, a hilarious one, where he said with a salt and pepper look that he's put himself. But interestingly, you've got to find humor at the end of the day, especially when it comes to he battling COVID and the actor finding his sense of humor, especially in these testing times, and livening up the moment, especially for not only his fans but also for himself, by bringing out those 3 pictures. And it is a ROFL moment, if you see, purely in terms of how the fans have reacted and how names have come out with regards to it. So it's clearly Varun Dhawan knowing how to make it count, especially when he is in isolation. He's making it count. and he's making it count in a grand way, not only for himself but also for
all right, while the entire world is talking about recoveries and the challenges ahead and the vaccines, we have this report coming in from you, the last report wherein you've brought forth the lighter side of the fight against the pandemic. Thank you so much, Anil, for joining us with that web review this morning.
And it's time now for news from the world of sports. Today we are concentrating on wrestling.
Indian women wrestler Anshu in 57 kg category has reached the final of 2020 Individual World Cup, which is being held in Belgrade. In qualification round, she defeated Azerbaijan's wrestler Alyona Kolesnik 4-2 and made it into the quarterfinal. In the last 8, she defeated Germany's wrestler Laura Mertens by 3-1 to secure her berth into the semis. In the semi-final round, she defeated Russian wrestler Veronika Chamikova for 7-4 to storm into the finals. Anshu will face Macedonian wrestler Anastasia Nichita in the gold medal bout today.
And time now for the weather report and the forecast.
According to the satellite picture, the cold day conditions are likely to be prevalent in isolated pockets over Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh and Delhi, North Rajasthan and West Uttar Pradesh during the next 2 days. Also, cold wave conditions are likely over Punjab, Chandigarh and Haryana and Delhi, West Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan during next 4 days as well. And severe cold wave conditions are to develop over Haryana, Chandigarh and Delhi, North Rajasthan and West Uttar Pradesh on 18th and 19th December.
Under the influence of an easterly wave, scattered to fairly widespread rain and thunder showers very likely over Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Karaikal, Kerala and Mahe and Lakshadweep during 16 to 19 December. Isolated heavy falls also very likely over Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Karaikal during 16 to 18 December and over Kerala and Mahe during 17 to 18 December 2020. Rain and thunder showers observed at isolated places over eastern Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Karaikal and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Thunderstorm observed at isolated places over East Madhya Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Karaikal. Fog observed too at various places in the northeast. Time now for temperatures across the country. Well, that's all we have for you in this edition of Breakfast News. But as always, as we go, we leave you with glimpses. Today, we have for you glimpses of 20 new species rediscovered in a scientific expedition in the Bolivian Andes. Take a look and enjoy. Namaskar.
Before we leave, we get you this quick reminder, Mask Up India initiative, which we're running on DD India and DD News. It's just a simple task, wear a mask, but wear it correctly and properly. Remember, this is the best means to keep yourself and people around you safe and protected against COVID-19. With that, we'll end this Breakfast News here. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.